A few days ago, a terrible personal and national tragedy happened in Israel. Two assassins walked into a synagogue with knives, with hatchets, with pistols, killed 4 rabbis, and eventually one of the policemen that came to aid the situation also died. The perpetrators were killed also. What sense is there in such action? I'm not speaking only about the desecration of a synagogue, of a house of God. What sense is there in killing? Is that going to promote the agenda of peace? Is that going to solve the problem between Israel and the Palestinians? I first of all want to mention the names of the rabbis that died. Aryeh Kupinsky, Avram Shmuel Goldberg, Moshe Twersky, Kalman Levine, rabbis that left children. Over 20 children were orphaned. They're new widows in Israel. Each and every one of them was a world unto himself. I don't think it's fair to put them all in the same group, that so many were killed, because each one that died, the universe finished for him. I want to speak in particular about Rabbi Moshe Twersky. I did not know him, but I know the name Twersky. The name Twersky is a very important name in the Hasidic world. Rabbi Moshe's father was Isidore Twersky. Isidore Twersky was a professor at Harvard University. Isidore's father was the Talmud Rebbe of Boston. And Isidore himself, who was a very modern man, but of course very studious, in the latter part of his life became the Talmud Rebbe himself. He was a man full of mysticism. I remember reading a very important essay of his about the Shulchan Aruch, how the Shulchan Aruch evolved. It was published in Judaism, which was a journal published by the American Jewish Congress years ago. He published books. He was a great intellectual individual, but he also had a very famous father-in-law. That was my revered teacher, Rav Joseph B. Soloveitchik. His wife, Atara, has a PhD, a very learned woman as well. I heard her once speak about her late father. An extraordinary family. Here is an individual whose life was extinguished. Children are now orphans. His wife is a widow. Why? Why did that take place? What did anybody accomplish by killing these people? And each one, as I say, is a universe unto himself. Aside from the personal tragedy, it is a national tragedy, because the entire population of Israel was moved by this tragic event. Are they going to now put down their arms altogether and say, well, we can no longer live in Israel? Or is it going to be the contrary? They're going to be hardened by it. They're going to look upon other people as possible enemies. Nothing has been accomplished with this terror act. In addition, from an international point of view, can one think of a Palestinian state next to Israel when Palestinians within Israel want to kill their citizens, the Jewish people living there? A few days ago, I heard former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger speak at a dinner in his honor at the World Jewish Congress in New York, and he said that the world is very complex these days, especially the Middle East. There's so many things going on, and until these things settle down, you can't even talk about peace between Israel and the Palestinians. So that these two states, one for the Palestinians, one for the Israelis, right now doesn't seem to be a possibility. And an act, a terror act like the one happened a few days ago, only makes the distance greater. I think nothing was accomplished except the creation of orphans and widows and hardening the will of the Jewish people for a compromise. I certainly hope that those that teach their children to hate Jews, those that teach their children that Israel has no reason to exist, will think again if in their minds and their hearts there is really the purpose of coming to some kind of understanding with the Jewish people, because acts such as this one that just happened a few days ago only makes the future bleaker, and a solution to an age-old problem looks ever more distant. So therefore, our prayer to the Almighty that He brings some light into the hearts and minds of the people, so that they should know that only through negotiation, by peaceful means, can peace be attained. Because by war, by murder, by assassination, the objective of peace looks further and further away.